Hi, Executive Coach Amy Sanchez here from Swim Against the Current. I am so excited to share with you my inaugural episode for my new podcast called The Happy Leader. In this episode, I'm going to be talking to you about how unconscious behaviors that we've used for our entire leadership career can actually debunk us from getting where we want to get. I will share a story about a top leader that I coached here in Silicon Valley and how his unconscious anger issues actually prevented him from getting to the C-suite, what he did about it, and how he got closer to the C-suite by looking within. Welcome to The Happy Leader. I'm Amy Sanchez, executive coach to some of the most innovative leaders and teams in Silicon Valley. I'll share stories and tips to help you navigate the most common leadership challenges so you can amplify what matters most: happiness. Leadership is equal parts art and science. As you look at the history of leadership, there's a really interesting evolution. In the 1950s, the predominant style was command and control. Think Jack Welch at GE. He embodied this type of style in the 1980s. Situational leadership was introduced in 1969. And today, most experts consider the best in class style for today's environment to be transformational leadership. But the answer for the best leadership style continues to evolve as society evolves. I know you all know this. What works for baby boomers doesn't work for Gen Z. So as a leader, how are you supposed to stay on top of all the trends and adopt a style that works for everyone? The simple answer is look within. Look within. Why do I say that? No matter how many leadership frameworks and theories you might have studied, if you haven't taken the time to understand your unique motivations and preferences, your values and the beliefs that shape how you interact with the world, your triggers, your strengths and weaknesses, it's going to be really hard to inspire somebody else. The frameworks, the science, if you will, of leadership are important. They're very important and they work. However, they require interpretation of the situation you're managing. And if you haven't spent time understanding your unique lens that you imply to interpret each and every situation, you may be making decisions based on skewed data. Let me share a story from the Silicon Valley archives to really bring this alive. I once worked with a senior sales leader at a large, well-known tech firm. You've definitely heard of this firm. Let's call this leader Vince. Vince had risen quickly in his career and had been very successful building teams and exceeding results. He was adept at building loyal, hardworking teams. The challenge was he had a bit of an edge to him. And it came out when he was going toe-to-toe with peers. Disagreement quickly turned into leveraging shame and belittling others as a way to be heard. And in the past, his bosses had rewarded and encouraged this approach. So guess what? With that positive reinforcement, it was an approach that he continued to use, and it became a pattern for him. However, this behavior stalled his progression to the C-suite, and he knew it. He had risen as far as he could in his career, and he knew he needed to make a fundamental leadership change to go forward. However, when he hired me, he was looking for a leadership framework to help him reach the top. He thought that was the answer. I just need a leadership framework that I can copy and paste, and that's what's going to take me to the C-suite. To his credit, he also recognized that the fight mode he turned to when he was in debate with his peers was a behavior that he knew wouldn't work in a C-suite meeting. So he knew there was a fundamental change that needed to happen. But he wasn't necessarily focused there when we first started working together. He wanted leadership frameworks, but luckily he was open-minded. I started our coaching engagement like I do all leadership coaching engagements by giving him an energy leadership assessment. This assessment reveals how you show up in your day-to-day life and how you show up under stress. It's super revealing and it can lead to a lot of ahas. His assessment revealed that his predominant energy level when under stress was anger. He got really angry when he was pushed to the extreme, and he lashed out at others. Sound familiar to the anger that showed up for him with his peers? And it turns out this anger was really, really draining for him. But it had been his go-to style for almost 50 years. He didn't know another way. And he also didn't have the energy he once had. He was nearing 50, and he needed to find a new, smarter, less taxing way to produce the same leadership results. With this insight in mind, I knew that a leadership framework wouldn't help him. We needed to first understand why anger was his default reaction when he was under stress. So here's the first tip. If you're looking to change behavior, start first creating awareness and understanding about your default mode. So that's what we did with him. So why did he get angry? As he considered this question, his voice became soft, and the strong man before me hung his head. He shared that as a child, for various reasons, he felt inferior to those around him. He carried that feeling with him through adolescence, and while others around him seemed to have an endless stream of money to pay for things, he had to work his way through college to pay the bills. It was through his college job that he realized he was really, really good at sales. And by the way, he's a really smart and likable guy. I very much enjoyed working with him. That insight that he was good at sales helped his success quickly grow and his confidence quickly grow. But the resentment he felt as a child never went away. He carried that feeling of inferiority with him, and he just learned to bury it really, really deep. But it revealed itself when he felt cornered. In truth, that anger was protecting him from his childhood scars. It was his way of shielding that little boy who felt shunned and inferior as a child. But as we continued to explore this, Vince realized that he no longer needed protection. And he no longer needed to feel inferior. In fact, he had endless accolades that proved just the opposite. He was worthy, he was smart, and he deserved to be in that room of leaders as an equal. He didn't need to break others down to feel worthy and recognized. There was such a shift for him when he had that insight and focus, and the additional information about who he was and what he valued didn't require the frameworks to help him further his leadership effectiveness. Now, we did later dive into leadership frameworks to help him argue his case in a respectful and convincing way. And his relationship with his peers vastly improved. He started to be invited to more C-suite meetings, and his focus fundamentally shifted from what do others think about me to what kind of impact do I want to drive? And then something happened that I often see when such a fundamental shift happens. His goal changed. It wasn't about reaching the C-suite anymore. It was about finding a role and an environment that really allowed him to thrive. And sure, C-suite would be nice. If you want to gain your leadership advantage, here are 3 tips to help you start from within. Number 1, start by mapping out your ideal vision of leadership. What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like for you? Then identify what strengths and skills you possess that will help you bring that vision alive. Second, identify what your top values are. You can visit my website, swim-against.com, and click on the link at the very top of each page. It's called Unlock Insights to Make a Career or Leadership Change. This link will take you to a values assessment that, through your answers, will reveal where to focus your efforts. Number 3, make a list of people you get along with and a list of people you don't. Find patterns among those groups. You'll notice as you start thinking about these groups, what lies beneath. For example, what underlying beliefs, assumptions, and interpretations do you have that will help you break free of these preferences that may be constricting you from connecting with those outside your comfort zone? These are some really interesting and revealing exercises that can help you really unlock any current challenges that you're trying to solve for. In particular, if you're trying to up-level your leadership impact or figure out who you want to be as a leader. If you want more, you can visit my website, swim-against.com, for Swim Against the Current and apply for a discovery session with me. Determining who you want to be as a leader and truly embodying that image will inevitably lead to greater happiness for you and for those you lead. Until next time, life is short. Stay happy. Thanks for listening to The Happy Leader. If you would like more information about me, Amy Sanchez, and our executive coaching and team leadership services at Swim Against the Current, visit swim-against.com. And if you liked this podcast, help others who could use the support find it by giving us a rating. Until next time, life is short. Stay happy.